Hi guys, it's Jamie Lutula, and I am here with a tutorial on how to put your books together once you've ripped them apart. So I did a part 1, ripped them apart. Like I said, you should go over to Mariann, who is Pocketful of Vintage. She has a lovely, 6-part tutorial where she goes into detail about how to rip your book apart and so forth and then put it back together. And then she also goes through in other videos about how to stitch pages in and so forth like that. I don't really do stitching in, so I watched all the videos, but I don't really use my sewing machine for paper crafts. It'd be kind of cool, so I think I am going to do that one time. But let's get started. So the last time I left you, we had ripped apart the book. Okay, and then we had put it back together with the tape. Okay, so the next thing you do is you get together what are called signatures. Okay, so if you've never made a book, then signatures are the groups of pieces of paper that you're going to actually stick in your book. So my book has 3 signatures. So I have 3 sets of paper. Okay, folded to the size of your book. Okay, and you can add different sizes, pockets and so forth. You can decorate all your pages beforehand, or you can do it in between. I just go with whatever's working at the time. So my book has 3 signatures. Okay, so you get that together, you cut all your papers, fold them up, organize them, get them positioned the way you want to. Okay, then what you have to do is get them all in your book. Okay, you won't be a book without them. So, excuse me. So let's start about finishing. First of all, when you start and you've got your tape, you'll have this mess here. Well, you don't want it to look like that. You want to cover it up. So on this side, you will see that I have a face plate, and then I put a little pocket on here. Okay, so you have a face plate with a pocket, and you have to glue that down. Now, what you want to use, you can always use wet glue, a strong wet glue. You could use like quick dry adhesive. I guess you could use Mod Podge or something like that. Decoupage, stuff like that. The fastest, easiest is double-sided sticky tape. Dee gave this to me in my birthday challenge, and I am just now using it because I was using up some other tape that I had. So thank you, ladies, because you are helping with my books. So some double-sided score tape, this stuff, or red line tape. You want something that's really strong so that it'll hold on to the book and whatever you have. Okay, so you need that. You need to prepare your page. You could cut, the easiest thing about using an old book is they already have a page here, so you know what size to cut it, or you can cut it larger or smaller, depending on what you want. So I've gone ahead and cut my page. My page was 5 1/4 by 8 1/4. I cut it, I inked it, I did the corners, I put on the tape. Now you want to go over your tape, just real quick, so that it sticks really well. And this stuff is awesome. So thank you, Dee. And just rip it up. And rip it up, rip it up, rip it up. So, I love this stuff already. This is the first pack of actual score tape, the brand score tape I've ever had. So I was like, woohoo, yay. Okay. Alright, so then you want to make sure you turn all the tape edges in. I have some little tape here that needs to be turned in. Then put it on there, and you're going to position it so it covers part of your tape and covers this section. Okay. And I'm actually going to add a pocket, so mine's going to be a little bit different. Okay. So I've got it positioned where I want it. Make sure it's positioned all the way down. Okay. So there you go. There's your inside page. Real simple. So now your book is basically prepped, ready to go. Now you need to add your signatures. Okay. So let's get started on signatures. For that, what you will need is some kind of pokey tool. If you have an awl, that's awesome. I suppose you could use a big bite and stuff, but I think the holes would be too big. Since I'm using a pokey tool, I also have this piece of felt-ish material that I just fold over, and it's fold over about 4 times because you need something to absorb the information. Then you're going to need something, some kind of needle, and I'm going to use twine to sew up my book today. Okay, and you'll need your ruler and so forth to measure. Now, the first thing you're going to actually measure is the height of your spine. So you would have figured that out already. For this one, it is, what, 8.5, I think? 8.5. And the spine itself is 1 3/8. So I went ahead and measured a piece of paper that is a little over the spine width so that you have some room to work on the side. Okay? So you want to cut a piece of paper, just a regular piece of copy paper, slightly wider than your spine, and the exact height of your book. Then make sure you write top. Okay, because you're not always exactly even, and if you turn your page around when you're punching your holes, they might not exactly line up. So, and you take it and you line it up with the top of your page and the bottom, cut it. I like to fold mine in half, okay? Then that's going to be your center line, okay? Now, for purposes, I went ahead and on my book, I marked the center. So, if you can see, which is better? Is that better? That might be better for you. So you can see I marked the center with the pen. Don't use permanent because you want it to actually erase eventually. Place this fold on the center. I just think it's easier to do that, to find the center. So find the center, line that up, hold it down, then open it. Okay, and then position it so it's in the center. If you move it like I moved it, so it's in the center now. Everything's lined up. Okay. Get some clips to hold it there, hold it in place. So now it's held in place. I'm going to put this back on so you can see a little bit better. Okay. Now at this point, put your cushion underneath. Get your book. Make sure it's positioned where it needs to go. And you're going to mark, you can do 3 holes, 2 holes, 5 holes. I did 3. So I have one in the center, one roughly an inch, and then one roughly an inch. So you go ahead and poke that first one right on through. Okay. Then do your next one, and then do your next one. Okay. Now, you could go ahead and mark them so you could have all 3 marked. What I did that I find is a little easier, especially if you're using duct tape. Duct tape has these lines already in it. So once you punch the first hole, to make it easier on yourself, can you see that here? Once you punch the first hole, then your second hole in this one, okay? Then just move across on the same line. Poke your hole for your other signatures. Don't. And it makes it super easy, okay? So then you want to make sure that you do 3 sets of holes because you have 3 signatures. If you have 4 signatures, then you do 4 sets of holes, okay? Then you want to do the same thing with the paper. Now, you could do one of 2 things. You can make a whole nother template. All I did was simply take this template, turn it over, fold it the other way, mark top again so you know which part is the top. Take your signature, clip it, and then since I have different length pages on this one, I'm going to clip it on both sides so that it'll stay. Okay. I'm hoping all this is in framing that you can see it well. Okay. So there you go. And you want to get in here, so put that on your little smushies. And then do the same thing. So here's the page. This is the top set of my pages. I want to line that up. Now, your pages are slightly smaller than your spine, or you could have them really small. So you want to line your paper up. So you see I have a little overhang here, a little overhang. Make sure it's roughly even. Get that paper down in that crease. Okay, can you see that? You want to get that paper down in the crease. Okay. Line it up so that your overhang is equal. I shouldn't say easy, but equal. Get that in there. And you could clip this down, but I don't really need to. So here's my center. I just stab that little sucker in there. Woo! Right? Do the same thing. Make sure that I'm going to move it down so it'll be in there. Make sure it's in the crease. You've got it lined up. Poke it again. Move it on down. Get it in the crease. Make sure it's there. And poke it on in. You can take out some aggression on these things too. So then you have your sets of holes punched. See? So there's 1, 2, 3. 3 holes. Okay. Now I'm just going to leave this snapped. Put that aside. The next thing you need to do is sew it. I'm going to check my time here. We're at 11 minutes. So hold on and I'll go to part 2. Okay, so the next thing that you will need is you will need your darning needle or whatever you're going to use to sew. You will need some fibers. Somebody asked me what I use my seam binding for. Usually I use my seam binding to sew up these books because then you can have decorative things on the edge and so forth. But today I'm going to use twine because I can't find my seam binding that's pink. So I'm going to use some pink and purple twine. I got this from Lily's mom too. She sent a box to me a while ago. And so I'm going to use that. You determine how much you need by roughly taking 2 times the length of your book. And because I don't ever want to run out, I usually go 3. Just for kicks and giggles. Yeah. Okay. Just for giggles. I just don't want to run out. Okay. Now, if you want your knots and stuff to be on the outside, then you start from the outside. If you want your knots to be on the inside, then you start from the inside. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to start with the first signature, but in the middle hole. So this is going to be my first signature. You want to make sure you have it the right way in your book. Because I have almost done that before. Sew your book in upside down. Like, oh, crap. Okay. So you want to take your pages, make sure everything's lined up where you want to be. So for example, I have this envelope, which is smaller than my other pages, so I want to make sure it's in the right place. Not too high, not too low, so that it gets caught in there. Okay? So I want to switch. Yeah, I think I want to switch. I think I want this. I'm going to make this one be my first signature instead. Okay, so you definitely want some clips again. Start with your thread, needle, whatever you're going to do. Go through all of your pages from the inside. Okay, I should have used a smaller one. Leave plenty of tail here. Then this is going to be my first signature. So in my book, I'm going to go through, this is my first signature, the middle hole on the book. Okay. So I'm going to go through the middle hole on the book. And then pull that down. Make sure you have plenty of tail. That's another reason why I like to leave it. So this is what you basically have. You stitch through here, down, you're going to go down through here. Okay. If you want to, you could tape this down. I usually just hold it and pull this thread. Then on the outside, you're going to go up. Let me turn it over so you can see. Then on the outside, okay, can you see this? You're going to go up through the top hole in your first signature line. So you're going to go through the spine. Go through the spine. And you'll notice that my pages are way up here now. Just so you can see it. So you can move it around a little bit. And then what I usually do is once I get that started, hold the front part, pull it a little tight. Then you got to go back up through this part. And it's a pamphlet stitch. There's tons of videos. Now, sometimes it'll go through all the way. Sometimes you have to go piece by piece so that you can make sure your holes are lined up, which is what I'm doing here, particularly since all my pages aren't the same size. Okay. Now, this is where you can do a little adjusting too. See, my hole is just above this piece here. I can go ahead and try to put it through there and just reorient my page a little bit. Just make sure you hit that. Okay. And this is a blunt needle, so if it's not working, take that pokey tool, line it up a little bit. See, a lot of things are forgiving. Not always, but this is. So I'm just going to go back and poke that in there. Give it a start. And then get that in there. Now, if I were using a sharper needle, it would just go through too, but since I'm using a... There we go. Have to get my sharper tool. Okay, so you just pull that back through. And these are the... I should edit this and take it out, but I'm not going to because this is really what happens. It's not always like, ooh, yay, it's smooth and it's in. Nope. Okay. So you have that. You're back through the thing. You want this to be tight. So you want to give it a pull. Okay. Then you're going to come down past the middle hole down to your last hole. So go through the book pages. And if you have to, just put them on one at a time. Okay. So sometimes I just go ahead and pull this through. And then you're going to go through the last hole on this signature. So see that? So now your signature will pull in place. See your lines? All right. You still want to do a little tightening. Then you have to come back up. You'll notice that the thread is on one side, that this string is on one side of the line. You want to come up through the hole on the other side of the line, okay, that you have in the center. So I'm just going to turn it over, go back up this middle hole that you started with. Don't split your yarn or your fiber. And then when it comes back up, go back through that center, coming up your pages, but on this side of the center, but on this side of the center. So go through there. And like I said, you can go piece by piece. Usually I'll take these off now. And it is a kind of fiddly kind of thing. You gotta get it going. Some pages may not go all the way straight. If you're using a really sharp needle, you want to be careful because you can punch additional holes in your paper. Okay, there you go. So I'm coming up on this side. Pull that all the way through. Okay, and then see, this is kind of floppy here. You don't want that. So you want to pull this one and this one in opposite directions to get that tighter. So now this is tighter, and you want these to be tight. Now you don't want to pull your paper and rip it, and at the same time you don't want to be really loose. Okay, does that make sense? So you pull this thread and this thread in the opposite directions to tighten up your signature. Then you can go ahead and tie it off. So tie a little knot. tie another knot. I'll probably do it 3 or 4 times. Tie another knot and another knot. Yep. Then you can, some people cut theirs off really close. I like to have the strings. I think it's cute. It kind of shows that, hey, look, the book was handmade. Then take this off. And your book has a signature. Yay! And it's in there. It's not going anywhere. Whoa! See? Woo-woo. Now you do the same thing the last 2 times for your signature. Then all your signatures will be sewn in, and then you have a book. Yay! Then you can go decorating it. Woohoo! Alright, see you guys later. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know below. Hopefully you can see everything. Okay, bye you guys.